The interesting fact about the Korean language is that when you go to the MTC, they will tell you that it's the second hardest language they teach in the MTC, and I believe the first one is like Finnish, but the second is Korean. And so I don't want to scare you with that, but it is the second hardest language, so it is going to be tough. But they've never sent anyone home, or they've never transferred anybody to a different mission because they couldn't learn Korean. That's totally unheard of and very unlikely. But that doesn't mean you're not going to struggle. Korean language, the language itself is it is difficult, but you'll get the hang of it for sure. It's the way it's structured is it's subject, object, verb. So instead of saying I go to the store, it's I store go. And they have conjugations and tenses, just like English. And I think that's probably where it gets tricky, just because remembering how to conjugate a certain verb can get quite tricky. The way it was interesting, actually, the Korean language used to use Hanja, which is Chinese characters. They used to use that about 500-600 years ago. And then one of the emperors or the kings of one of the dynasties around that time wanted to alleviate or solve the issue of illiteracy that was throughout the country. Just because in order to be literate, you needed to know about 10,000 characters, and that just wasn't feasible to memorize so many characters, or it was really difficult. And so he developed the alphabet. And so the Korean language has, I think, similar to English, actually about 20 something little characters that form together to, it's an alphabet. Yeah, so they made that alphabet, right? And then he made that, and it has about, I think, I can't remember the exact number, but it's around 20 to 30 letters, essentially, that you can form together to make words. They have object and subject markers as well, so that can get things a little bit tricky. But to give an example, when you say the word I, that's che, or chon, cho, and then the subject marker would be nen. So cho는. If I wanted to say that I know the Book of Mormon is true, you would say cho는 mormon경을. So mormon경 is the word for Book of Mormon, and then is the object marker. So cho는 mormon경을, and then you would say it's true, or or you would say no, true, no. So you'd say 참된 다는 것을 알고 있습니다. And 알고다, or 알다, is to know. And then the rest of that stuff that I said was the conjugation with the present tense. One thing that's probably really important with the Korean language is it has different levels of speech. So particularly with honorifics, you'll notice that, especially if you read the Book of Mormon in Korean, or when you talk to people that are older than you. A lot of it has to do with age. So if and also titles. Titles and power, positions of authority are quite important. So if I were to talk to like the state president in Korea, if I wanted to say hello, I would say 안녕하십니까. 안녕하십니까. And that's how he could talk to me that way too. But because if he's older than me and he has a higher position than me, then he would tell me, he would say 안녕하세요 instead of 안녕하십니까. That's how he would say hello. Typically, when you're on the street, though, as a missionary, you would just say 안녕하세요 to most people, just on the street. But when you're talking to children, as a missionary, you cannot use the lowest form of speech. The lowest form, you would say 안녕. So 안녕하십니까, 안녕하세요, 안녕. You would never say 안녕 to children as a missionary, just because you're not allowed to use 반말. And that's the word. That's what we call the lowest form of speech. And you never use that to anyone that's older than you. 반말 is specifically for Koreans to use to kids, people who are younger than them. As missionaries, you won't use that though. And they also use 반말, or the lowest form of speech, to like really close friends or family, or just spouses. So as a missionary, you always speak in middle form, and so that's when you would say 안녕하세요, or you would always end the sentences with yo. or at least most of the sentences in that particular conjugation. They have lots of honorifics, and so you will put that on certain object or subjects when you speak, and that can be tricky too. But you'll get used to that as you learn, and get help from Koreans. Koreans are wonderful about teaching Korean. They love it when you try to speak Korean to them, and they love it when you interact and you do your best to learn their language. They take a lot of pride in that, and they would love to help you.